it is time I share my opinions on the new Le Mal Elixir. So it's gonna be really, really good for some, in others, not so much. So today I'm gonna discuss who this fragrance is for and if this is worth a pickup. This one I actually bought as a gift box, I guess you could say. This one does have the tin look on the outside lid. You can hear it. When you open this up, it actually has a 10 ml decant, which you can see right there, and a shower gel, and that's where the fragrance sits. I bought it like this because it was the same price as the other one, so I thought, why not get an extra 10 ml and have a shower gel? The bottle. It looks like an Oscar award. Being that I always wanted to be an actor, I finally get my Oscar, I guess you could say, you know? Like, oh my God, that's so sad. Oh, I had to buy it. Oh man. Honestly, I think that this bottle is the best looking in the entire Le Mal line. I love the way it looks. It honestly looks like one of those like honeycomb sticks, you know, that you see people dip in the honey and it drizzles off. It has that same kind of amber hue mixed with what I think is really, really nice and makes it stand out from the others, this gold. Just be careful with this because this gold paint is really sensitive, so you don't want to knock that off. This does have one of the best pull tabs in the entire line. It's pretty much the size of a keychain. It is very thick, you know, look at the comparison in pull tab size, right? This is actually a parfum concentration. Le Mal Elixir was made in 2023 by Quinton Biche in France. Let's discuss the scent profile, but before I dive into that, let's discuss the listed notes. The top notes are lavender and mint, the mid notes, vanilla and benzoin, and the base notes, honey, tonka bean, and tobacco. It's one of the rare times I can actually say that the listed notes are pretty accurate, but what I can appreciate is it definitely has that Le Mal DNA in there. But I'm definitely getting, especially towards the later dry down, a lot of that combination of sweetness between vanilla, tonka bean, and honey. In my opinion, the most prominent is the honey. It's kind of like a sticky sweetness. It almost wears a little bit heavier. It adds this weight to the fragrance. It's an airy fragrance, but it weighs heavier from some of the sweetness that's added in there. So if you don't like sweet fragrances, stray far away from this one and do not look back because you're not gonna like this at all. There is a tobacco in here, but I wouldn't say that it's overly noticeable as tobacco, but it does add this kind of earthy quality to the fragrance that I guess grounds it a little bit because that sweetness would just be overkill without it. When I see this, I think of someone my age. Like I think of like 25 plus man that's trying to get attention and is trying to pull compliments. Really what I think of when I see a fragrance like this and when I smell the scent profile. Jean-Paul Gaultier absolutely knows how to capture the male audience when it comes to fragrances. The scent profile is kind of like a gourmand sweetness. Like it does have almost like a dessert-like vibe to it, but it's also very sweet. So it's like a combination between sweet and classy, and it kind of joins together very nicely. I gotta say, if you don't really like powdery vanilla, you're probably not gonna like this either. If you didn't like the Le Mal Le Parfum, you're not gonna like this either. Although the powdery edge to this is kind of toned down. So there is some elements to this where I would say it actually is like a perfect date night fragrance. Like a lot of women are going to like the smell of this and it kind of draws them in. Like when they smell this, it has that seductive, sexy vibe to it, but it is very strong. If you're going to wear this on dates, I highly suggest that you tone back the sprays in the 2 to 3 range. You do not want to be aggressively in someone's face on a date night, especially with their fragrance. You want it to be more intimate and draw them in closer to you. Because of this scent profile and because of its quality, I also think that you could also wear this clubbing. It is strong enough to definitely cut through a lot of those other recognizable scents. It is very good for both of those situations. Just make sure your sprays match whatever occasion you spray this in. In my opinion, this is a fall and winter fragrance, especially those cooler nights. I had no idea how strong this would be. I had a little sample and that was where I gave my first impressions, and it wasn't as strong as it was from the decant and from this one. Like this atomizer puts out a lot of juice. Like, let me show you. It's a very good atomizer. I sprayed this 5 times before going to a party, and I'm telling you, the entire room noticed. I'm not really one that wants my fragrance to announce itself. Let's talk about the performance of this while we're on the subject, shall we? Because of the sweetness and the synthetic components to this, a lot of people are gonna go anosmic. They're not even gonna really realize how strong this stuff actually is, especially in the first hour or 2 after spraying. And then around like the 2 to 3 hour mark, it definitely settles down in between like the 2 to 3 foot projection mark. It does definitely leave quite a heavy sillage. When you walk by people, they're gonna notice, and it's going to leave a lasting, lingering impression. I wouldn't say that this scent profile progresses really at all. I think that the really only thing I was noticing here is that that sweetness kind of just tames down and tapers off slowly throughout the duration of the fragrance. It's a lot nicer towards the late dry down because the opening is such an overload of sweetness. Some people might not even be able to get past that part. This stays on clothes for days. You spray it once and you're gonna smell it days later on whatever you sprayed it. On skin, I'm gonna say that it has at minimum 10 hours and sometimes 12 plus hours. It's kind of hard to clock it in because it does have mixed performance on my skin. It's really hard for me to even track after 12 plus hours of performance. Since this is a newer release, you're going to have to expect to pay around retail still. It hasn't hopped down in price too much of what I've seen. I bought this at full retail price, so I paid $168 Canadian. But on discounters, you can find it a little bit cheaper, not a significant amount. I think I found it on discounters for around $150 Canadian. Highly recommend waiting because this will come down in price on those discount sites dramatically, and I'm definitely gonna list it in the description below if I can find it for a good price. Because of its popularity, it's pretty much sold out everywhere. Discounters get it in for like a couple hours. Even in retail shops, it's really hard to come across. It's not easy to get your hands on this fragrance right now. With all that being said though, I think that it's a little bit redundant, like not too overly redundant, but it definitely has a very similar profile to Le Mal Le Parfum. Le Mal Le Parfum definitely comes across as classier and more sophisticated. This one comes across as like a youthful, like, hey, look at me, I want to be noticed type of scent profile. It's a little try-hardy. I'm just being real, but I absolutely love this stuff, and I might even like it a tad bit more than this one. I'm just saying, and that's why I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's one of my favorite releases in 2023. Although I'm adding to the hype, I highly suggest that you check it out. If you love fragrances that pull attention and get compliments, I highly suggest that you check out this video review I did right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.